Welcome to the Sisters on the Front Lines podcast, where we unite with Christ to combat the shame surrounding young women struggling with pornography, and share our stories and insights to gather more tools and weapons to fortify our stance on the front lines in the war against pornography. Alright, welcome. I am so excited for this episode. Today I am joined with one of my good lifelong friends. Her name is Savannah, and we've been friends, how long? It's been long.
Since middle school.
Middle school, yeah.
I don't know.
We've seen each other in the worst of times, aka middle school. But yeah, I love Savannah, and I'm so happy that she's joining me to share her story, and you really should be excited. She's so fun and funny and just has a great light about her. So this is going to be a good one. So, Savannah, I just want you to kind of introduce yourself, your family, hobbies, whatever else you want to say.
Okay. Hi, I'm Savannah. I'm 19. I'm currently going to USU. I'm majoring in HDFS with the hopes of becoming an occupational therapist. I really don't have a lot of hobbies, unless you count hanging out with friends as a hobby. I'm a boring person, but that's okay.
That's a lie.
Oh no.
I think you need to give yourself more credit, but okay.
Okay, yeah. I like to read books. Books are
There you
good.
go. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with my brother, my mom, and my dad. Logan, my brother, just got married. I like his wife a lot more than I like him. I don't know.
I love it. Okay, well, yeah, Savannah's awesome. She loves Jesus, and I love Jesus, and so it works out.
Bro's a homie.
A bro is a homie. So, okay. So I actually want to start this off a little bit differently. I'm not going to just off the bat ask Savannah about her story, because I want to talk about a phone call that we had last night, because I had been talking about like having her on this for a while, and I finally was like, okay, like I feel ready now, like I've got all the technical issues worked out. Are you ready to come on? So I guess, Savannah, like what were your feelings about that, and what happened after that?
Okay, so like you first texted me and you're like, hey, would you actually want to be on the podcast? And I panicked a little bit. And basically my thoughts were just like, my story isn't as good as everyone else's. I'm not as progressed as other people. I feel like I have no right to share any advice, I guess.
That's fair. And I basically told her, I was like, well, actually, do you want to go through like I'm curious to what like you remember, or like what you felt from what we talked about
From the phone call?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, we kind of talked about how, like, Satan is so smart. Dude has, like, a PhD in being awful. But a lot of these things, like, ever since we started talking about the podcast, I can see him working harder in my life in just the little things. And I feel like this is just another example of him working harder. I don't know.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's because he knows like what goodness is about to come out of this. Because not only, I mean, I'm totally speaking from experience, but like once you get that out of the gate and you tell your story for the first time, it's just like, wow, so many doors being opened. And so anyway, I'm so happy that you made it here, and I'm so happy that we are about to kick Satan's butt.
I'm happy to be here.
So let's get into it, and I kind of want to do more of a discussion. And so I guess just start off with your story, and then we can like bounce off questions along the way.
Okay, so I started viewing pornography when I was about 13, and I still fight with it now. I fight with it more in the sense of how to not view it rather than finding ways to view it. So it's a different fight. It's a better fight, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I talked to my bishop around the age of 14 or 15, and it wasn't a good or bad experience. So I don't do with that information what you will. It was just, it was mid.
I'm curious, why wasn't it a good or bad? Like, walk me through, like, when you first decided to go, like, what made you first decide to go see the bishop? And then what was that experience like talking to him?
Okay, so this is actually such like a vivid memory for me.
Okay.
Is I was sitting in a seminary class. We were talking about the atonement and that whole process. And he's like, I feel like there are some of you in here that need to confess to the bishop. And like, if you're not ready, that's okay. But I
Wow.
want to give you the challenge of talking to your bishop. And then he told us some of his experiences from when he was in the bishopric. And people, like, the second they leave his office after talking to him, they just get an overwhelming, or he gets an overwhelming sense of like, oh my gosh, I have nothing but love for that person for coming to me. Like, they're amazing. And then I was talking to someone else, and they had the overwhelming feeling of just like, you are forgiven, like so strong. And I wanted nothing more in my life to feel that. So,
That's so
yeah,
cool. So then was it like that same day that you were like, "Hey Bishop, like we need to meet."
absolutely not.
No.
No, I
So then
am
what
a
was the
chicken. So
whatever.
they actually, you know how you have just like a birthday interview or whatever? They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you just turned 14, like come in and chat with us."
Yeah.
So I went in for that and it was like all fine and dandy. And then I just started bawling and I was like, "Bishop, I really need to talk to you." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he slid me the box of tissues and I kind of like explained it to him, like my whole issues. And then he wasn't, I feel like I wanted him to be more like, "You're not alone. This is totally normal." And he
Mhm.
was like, "Yeah, like, good job talking to me." And then he, like, I don't know, a bunch of that I feel like is kind of a sacred experience, but
Yeah.
it wasn't good or bad. I don't know.
All right. That's fair. So what initially sparked viewing pornography? How did you lead into that, I guess?
Okay, so I feel like I saw like a post on Instagram and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, this is insane." Was
Mhm.
not prepared to see that. And then it spiraled after that.
Mhm.
But I know the driving factor of viewing pornography was definitely like my situation at the time. I know my mental health was really bad at the time, and we were having a lot of family struggles, and I was feeling more alone than ever, even though I
Mhm.
was like surrounded by people all the time. But
Had you ever heard of, like, before you went to go see the bishop, had you ever heard of a girl struggling with pornography? Or did you even know that there were resources available?
absolutely not. Like, I literally thought I was like, I don't even know the word, like a mystery. I was like, whoa, how am I struggling with this? Like, I'm a
Mm,
teenage girl.
oh,
But
I get that. I felt the same way. It sucks so
yeah.
bad. It would have been so
Yeah.
good to know that, like, I mean, we were probably both going through it. Yeah,
I
at the
know,
same
like,
time.
I actually remember. So I know my mental health was really bad at the time. And you actually talked to my middle school counselor because you were worried about me.
Wait,
And
I, like,
so
vaguely remember that.
we were
Oh, I
definitely
was
going
such a
through this at the
tattletale.
same time. No, because I mean, like, I definitely lied to him and I told him, I was like, "Oh, yeah, everything is so fine. I'm doing well." But I think it helped me in the long run to, like, notice that people did care about me. So
Oh.
that was good.
That's good. I'm glad. I actually that's weird that you bring that up because I don't know why, but I thought of that the other day. And I was like,
Oh,
I
really?
remember like I remember it was weird. I like went in and he was like, "Is this an open door conversation or a closed door?" And
Oh
I
my,
was like, "Ah." I was like, "Probably closed door." Like I don't
oh
know,
my.
but
Yeah,
anyway.
it was a rough point in my life, but
Yeah. Well, man, that's cool that I mean, it was kind of like inspired.
mhm.
Okay, my next question. I'm curious, what are your feelings before, during, and after viewing pornography?
Okay, so before I would view pornography, it felt more like I felt sneaky. I felt very sneaky about it. Like I knew I wasn't doing something right, but the feeling I knew I would get was going to be worth it, I guess.
Hmm.
So that was before. And
And
then during, sorry,
were you like, would you say you're like conscious or like all there, I guess? Like what does that look like? Like before?
no, so that actually leads into my next one is
Okay.
during, I felt completely numb. I don't feel like I could tell you one single experience because all of it is just numb. I didn't have a ton of emotions, and I was just like going with the flow. Even if I didn't necessarily want to view porn, I was like, I'm here already. Like, I'm just going with it.
Yeah, like you're kind of not in control, and it like that
Yeah.
is controlling you. I felt the same way. And I remember like towards when I started like getting help, but like right before, I remember there would be times like you have that routine of like you go, I don't know where it was for you, but like I go like lock the bathroom door or whatever, like
Hmm.
you have that routine, and it's like, okay, well, as soon as I go in and lock that bathroom door, actually, like before, like it's kind of decided that like that's what's gonna happen. And I
Yeah.
remember there was one time I was like locking the bathroom door, and so I was like looking away from my phone, and I had like this moment of consciousness of like, I don't even want to be doing this, and it was weird because I had never had that before. But then, I mean, that time it was just like, no, like sucked back in. But having that moment of consciousness was huge to actually make me realize, wait, I want this out of my life. And I know that there's
Hmm.
so many better things on the other side. So anyway, that was your back to your like before, during, and after. So I think you were at during, and then we're going into after.
Yeah, so during, along with what you just said, like it's kind of a scary feeling too, to just be completely out of control. You're not deciding whether you want to do it or not. You're just going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, scary feeling. And then after, I think I felt relieved that it was over. Like I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I did what I was planning to do. And that was definitely like towards the beginning of my story, and then towards the end after was very like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst person in the world. No one is more broken than me. I don't know. And
Wait,
then
so
I just remember feeling sorry.
sorry. I'm just like clarifying. Did you say like at the beginning of when you started viewing pornography, like in general, you would feel the feelings of like, okay, well, I did that, and then it slowly shifted into more shame? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess like just towards the beginning, so like around the age I was 13 when it first started, I had the feelings of like, yes, I got that over with. That's what I came here to do. Like
Huh.
my task is complete. And then as I progress more towards like my age now, maybe even a little bit younger, it's definitely evolved into more shame. And I know what I was doing was wrong, but it felt worth it.
Hmm. That's interesting. So, do you have anything else to add on like the afterwards part?
Oh, yeah, okay. And then after, I know I was really irritable and like shut off.
Oh,
So
okay.
I know
Mhm.
after it happened, I feel like my family members could ask me any sort of question, and I just felt snappy. And if I was shut off, I felt like I was just observing life. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't actually living life. I was just an after fact. I was just living. I don't know.
Yeah, that's like just super out of it and like don't feel like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get that feeling. So you talk about how your mindset afterwards. At the beginning, it was like, okay, came and did what I came here to do. Like task is accomplished, task is finished. And it was more of like, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but more of a neutral type of thing. And then it slowly progressed into more of a negative and shame-filled thing. And so why do you think that happened? And what was the time period that shift happened? Because that's super interesting to me, because I don't know, I don't think I've like heard it like that before.
Yeah, okay. So I think it definitely turned into a more like shame thing as I grew in the gospel more.
Huh.
Because I feel like before it was like, I'm not that strong in the gospel, anyways, it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
And then as I grew in the gospel more, I'm like, oh crap, this like isn't a good thing, but I was like, I'm too far in now. There's no way that I can be saved at this stage.
Mm, yeah.
On the timeline when that happened, I don't know, that was probably 17-ish.
Okay. Okay.
And then it just progressively got more like shameful and this needs to end. This needs to be done.
Gotcha. So, I mean, obviously, like, we're both still in our, like, our stories don't just end as soon as we do this podcast, you know?
Yeah.
But where are you at now? And what's your view on that? And how do you approach trials like that? Like, are you more graceful towards yourself? Are you putting more shame on yourself? What does that look like now?
I think I am more graceful with myself, but that hasn't started until like I think when I started talking to you, honestly, because to understand that other people are going through it made me feel like my emotions aren't one of a kind. Other people feel this shame too.
Mm-hmm.
So now I definitely give myself more grace, and if a temptation does come up, I have other ways to somewhat distract myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like yesterday, I felt like Satan was working real hard on me, and so I was like, okay, like, nope, we're not doing this. I'm not in the mood. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go paint my nails. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
paint my nails and listen to some T Swifty and just like, I'm done. I got it. It's
There you go.
okay.
That's so cool. And did
Yeah.
it did that work for you? Like, do you feel like that was like suppressing the temptation, or it was just more like, okay, here's what's happening right now. Here's what I'm gonna do about it. Like, what is that like?
I think I like acknowledge the temptation. I'm like, okay, I get why I'm feeling this way,
Uh-huh.
but there are other ways that I can get past this feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
And it definitely did work because my nails are now blue and sparkly,
Boom.
and I listened to an entire album. So,
So yeah, what more could you ask for?
yeah.
Okay, so how would you say that your relationship with Christ has grown and progressed and changed over time?
It definitely hasn't been like a linear progress. I've definitely had up and downs, but lately it's been going up more than it's been going down, which is a really good feeling. I was actually in the bishop's office the other day, just like renewing my temple recommend, whatever. And there's the question like, are there any things that need to be discussed with the bishop, or however he phrases it? I don't remember.
Hmm.
And I could confidently, without shame, say no. And it was such a good feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm making it. I'm doing it. And
Hmm.
it was such a good feeling to the point that I actually like I called Maddie and I was like crying. It was great.
It's like the best phone call ever. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool to see how much you've grown. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to our last two questions. So I want you to think about the position you were in when you were 13, 14, even 15, 16, 17, maybe even now. But if there was a young girl that was in your position and is in your position right now, and she's sitting with you right there in the passenger seat of your car, and she's just like, hey, like, I feel so alone, and I feel like I'm just disgusting and made incorrectly, and there's got to be something wrong with me, and I just feel so unlovable because I'm struggling with pornography. What do you want to say to that girl?
Okay, so I would definitely say like you're not alone. You're not disgusting. You're not odd for having these thoughts. And then I think just making sure she knew that she is valued and God doesn't make mistakes. God knew what he was doing when he made her. And God also doesn't give us trials that we can't face.
Mm,
There's, I think someone in my sacrament meeting said, like, God gives us the ability to go through something hard, but change and evolve in the process.
mm,
So it's like, no matter what we're going through, he knows we can handle it and he'll be there for us regardless.
yeah, I love that. That was perfectly said. Um, okay, last question. What keeps you on the front lines in the war against pornography? And feel free to share any scriptures or quotes that have helped you with that.
Okay, yeah. So what keeps me on the front lines is honestly like thinking about the future. like one of my main goals in life is to become like a mom and a wife.
Mm.
And I don't want porn to be the reason that none of that can happen. I don't want it to create a barrier between my husband or me and my children. And so I think that definitely helps me stay on the front lines is I want to become like a stronger member of the church in order to be a better wife.
Yeah.
And then it also,
Wait, sorry. Can I add something to that?
yeah.
I think it's just like I love that viewpoint, and I think it's super important to acknowledge that like that viewpoint is not necessarily something that is like fear based. Like, oh man, if I keep struggling with this, then my whole family and my whole life is going to be ruined.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a hopeful thing. It's like, man, I will get over this, and I can get over this,
Mm-hmm.
and gather tools that can help me understand myself and understand why this is happening better, so that I can have an amazing family and an amazing husband and be 100% there for them. And so yeah, I just think
Yeah.
that's super important to understand. So I love that. Sorry, continue.
No, you're good. And going along with that, it is hopeful because another part is like I want to know how to best be able to help my children because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when
Yep.
they see or view pornography.
Yep.
So I want to be able to share with them that it's like no, you're not disgusting. Like this is a normal thing and we can get through it and I want you to be able to like be open and honest with me.
Right. I love that, and it's so good that you're able to use the experiences that you've had. Like I don't know what scripture it is, but it's like all things will be for your good. And I
Mm-hmm.
also love like Ether 12:27 is such a classic scripture, but it's like your weaknesses can be made into strengths. And I've never felt such literal meaning from that than like talking to people about this. And like it's been
Yeah.
so cool because it's like, yeah, it's become a strength for me, but it's become a strength for other people. And that's the coolest thing ever to see. And so that's going to be huge strength for your kids and for your spouse and for whoever you share this story with.
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I actually shared a talk. It's called "The Legacy of Encouragement" by Henry B. Eyring. It's in the October 2022 General Conference. I sent just a little tidbit to Maddie last night, and it says, "He puts Jesus Christ first, and do all who succeed in giving encouragement to those struggling upward on the path to their heavenly home." And I absolutely love the phrase "struggling upward" because it's not like my struggle has ended, but I struggle in different ways, and
Yeah.
instead of struggling to bring myself lower, I'm now struggling in the sense that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna climb to the top of the ladder. I'm tired of falling. I want to evolve.
I love that. That's so good. Struggling upward. Amen.
Love that.
Okay, well, do you have any like final thoughts or a message to share?
I I don't know. I guess I love the question of like what you would say to a young girl. Because when I first stumbled upon like you sharing your experiences, I have never felt more seen in my life. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not completely alone. There is another person that's like living the same reality as me. So if another like girl even younger than myself were to see this, I would love for them to know that they're not broken beyond repair. You're
Mhm.
never broken beyond repair.
I love it. Amen. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining
Yeah, it
me, Savannah.
was a blast.
It was a blast, and we gotta hang out soon. And I just
Yeah.
love you. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. That is, I don't know how to end podcast, but that's the end of our episode. Okay, bye.